What are you doing to yourself, man? Are you taking any responsibility at all whatsoever for your state, for your emotional state, for this depression, for this anxiety? Are you taking any responsibility? Or are you going to blame it on your job, your wife, your kids, your lifestyle, the alcohol? Like, just blame it on something else and not take any responsibility for it. Because if you're not walking and exercising every day, if you're not drinking X amount of water, if you're not listening to something uplifting like a podcast or an audiobook every single day, then go.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back. Part 2 with Mr. Omar in the house. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. Rested, ready to go. First call of the day. Let's do this.
Continuation of our previous conversation that you might have heard last week. And you were about to get cooking into healthy masculinity. Now, when I say those words, I feel like this conversation is going to get canceled right away. I feel like I can't even touch this conversation because it's dangerous, right? But you know, look, I think at the end of the day, one of the things that I talk about all the time that I think people enjoy about me is I don't have judgment of anything, right? What you've done in your past, how you currently live your life. I believe that everything is an opportunity to get better. And so that's why I believe these conversations are important. And if you don't want to hear certain aspects of the conversation, maybe that says more about you than it does about it.
Yeah, well, if you could associate it with a trigger, potentially, if it triggered you, whether it's level 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. Trigger's a trigger. It could be level 10. Level 1's a little bit, for people that get triggered level 1, they might not even realize they're being triggered. They're just kind of moody now all of a sudden. But something triggered them to become a little edgier, maybe, a little more defensive, a little bit more reserved. So you may not recognize that somebody full on triggered you, but there's enough in the conversation where it's like,
so I read something I'm reading after the book's been handed to me about 15 times. I finally cracked it open because basically the universe, the body keeps score. And he was basically talking about how if your breathing is not connected to your body, then little irritations, trigger ones, will show up in every aspect of your life.
That's a good, I like that one. Okay. I don't think we do enough conscious breathing. And I don't think it's something breath work is something that's really starting to make its way, at least as far as the mainstream. Plant medicine has become mainstream. Now breath work has become mainstream. Somatic healing, that kind of work is now, it's much more talked about. And then with the push for consistently trying to legalize psychedelics in the United States, a lot more advocacy as well. So yes, there's these wonderful resources like breath work. If those listening, if you haven't done a holotropic breath work session or ceremony, highly recommended. Okay. It will send you into a psychedelic state without having to take any psychedelics. And when you come back, you get all the messages. And within 15, 20, maybe even a half an hour, you're fully back. But you feel amazing. Okay. You feel grounded. You feel regulated. You got some messages from beyond. And so that's become a real game changer for a lot of people. Cold plunges, those kind of things are all like resources that allow us to really reset ourselves when we go off the reservation. What are you laughing about? Something
I
came
just
up.
got back from Colorado 2 weeks ago when I went hiking by myself, and I went into a reserve that was up in the mountains, and then I jumped in the river that was at the bottom of the dam. That was the runoff from the mountains and the snow that had been melting. And let me tell you something. I lived in Tahoe. I've lived some places. This water was so cold, I couldn't see my eyesight for like a minute. Like it was like,
Oh,
I mean, but I did it twice. But I'm telling you right now, like for like hours afterwards, I felt like reinvigorated. It was amazing.
yes. And these are things that require
Nothing. It's free.
nothing. They're
was all
free.
free.
Okay, you just got into some super cold water, and it changed your whole nervous system in a few minutes.
So then
And
why
what
are
else
we
can do that?
okay. I heard a guy talking on Rich Roll's podcast the other day who spent most of his life in Japan. He left for Japan when he was 19. Japan does not do therapy. They don't do any therapy. It doesn't exist in Japan. Like therapy doesn't exist. So what I love is that we've graduated, more people are into personal development, breath work, like you stated. But like, why is there still such a stigma around getting help?
Well, I mean, we could do a whole deep dive into that conversation, but it's the same reason why plant medicine, will not or is having such a tough time being legalized in the US. It's because it works. Unfortunately, the medicine that works, that actually has that has such a powerful healing property, so much so that a couple of or like consistent breath works or doing plant medicine will correct years of trauma and dysregulation and anxiety and depression, you name it. And the pharmaceutical companies, what would happen if everyone healed overnight? I mean, like if we want to go down the dark rabbit hole, the main reason why this type of conversations are not making it mainstream is the powers that be don't like it. It doesn't help them in their quest for more money.
Something just hit me, like, not hit me, but it hit me again. Like everything that's good for us is free. Like
100%.
Like, okay, hear me out.
Everything.
You want to heal your stomach? Just fast for, a couple hours. You want to feel better? Walk. You want to feel better? See a sunset, get in the sun. Like you want to jump in water. Like all these things are free, and we have to buy all the workout gear, and we have to do all these things, and we have to go avoid ourselves. Like it's all free. It's all basic.
In Japan, the reason why I didn't even know they didn't have therapy, things of that nature in Japan, but it's probably because they don't need it. When somebody gets sick, they tell them to go do a forest bath or get in the ocean, or take some deep breaths. It's like, oh, you're not feeling well? Have you been exercising? What have you been eating? What's your diet like? Are you drinking enough water? Like, those are the questions that, like, over here in Costa Rica or over in Japan, they probably ask them, right? In the States, it's like, oh, wow, okay, take this med and then this med and then this med and then come see me in about a month or so. And then if we need just those meds, we need to, what about exercise? Oh, don't worry about that. No. There's no scientific proof that exercise does anything or diet. So just keep taking the pills and I'll see you back in a month and then we'll adjust those.
I might have told you the stat when I worked as a healthcare in the healthcare industry as a consultant a couple years ago. I heard a stat that blew me away. It's still the number one stat I quote, that more Americans are on 2 prescription pills than 0 in America.
Correct. And then, I'd like to know the number of people that are taking 5 or more prescription medications.
Lots.
A
and,
lot.
There was a thing.
A lot.
There was a video on Amazon Prime called Fasting, and this man was taking 48 pills.
Yep.
48 pills a day. And with fasting and drinking juice, it all went away. And then this woman had migraines for almost 40 years, and she did 2 40-day fasts, and she's never had a migraine again.
Now, what does that do to the pharmaceutical industry when that happens?
Cripples it.
Destroys it. It goes to show you, like, if we started, we're not designed to live in civilizations or societies as big as we have them, like, for example, New York, that small area was congested with probably, I don't even know how many people that live in New York. But for example, like, I live in Costa Rica up on a mountain in a private residence, and I have two neighbors that I can't really see. Right? So most of the time, it's me staring at the view of the city in nature, listening to the birds, walking through my neighborhood. And so, do I have anxiety? No. Do I have stress? No. Do I have depression? No. Am I taking anything for it? No. Am I walking every day? Yes. Am I conscious about my breathing? Yes. Am I conscious about my hydration and my water intake and what I put in my water? Yes. I mean, there's so many things that I'm conscious of that require very little. I don't have a gym membership, so there's some savings there. I don't have all the latest Nike Boss gear. You see people in the gym and they're just all branded up. Okay, the Nike, the Adidas, the Boss. They got the Boss socks. The Boss the little tennis things that nobody should ever wear ever anymore. Okay, that either say Dolce Gabbana or whatever, the Dolce Gabbana. I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, so everything has to be some sort of a show. If I'm going to go hiking, I have to get the best gear and the poles and the merits and whatever. It's what you're talking about here is free, right? If you were to move and go into, just buy a piece of land somewhere, live there with like 20 people, and just go, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to raise our own cows. We're going to grow our own vegetables, and we're going to learn how to split up all the different responsibilities that we have to do. Okay. And we're going to live here fully sustained. That is completely doable. And it's being done all over the world in indigenous cultures. They don't wear shoes. Okay. They barely wear any clothes. They're grounded all the time. Their feet are on the ground all the time. They don't have any idea what it means to be overwhelmed and overstimulated and anxious. Okay, I can't even imagine that there's any teenagers in those communities that even know what the word anxious, depressed even means. They're too busy, they have their chores, they have their responsibilities, they have their playtime, they have everything that is there. They don't need anything. They don't need to get a job. They don't need to look for housing. They don't need to get a low equity mortgage. They don't need any of that stuff. We don't need it. We've created societies that are so expensive to sustain that basically what happens is we stop living and we just become worker bees. That's it. That's what we become. We just become worker bees, right? Okay. All right. We got private school for the kids. All right. Well, the kids need clothes for school. And how many kids do we have? We have 6. Okay. That's a lot of kids. Okay. Oh, they want to go to Disneyland. Oh, okay. So we got to get 8 plane tickets and 4 hotel rooms. And like, it's just, how do people, and going back to healthy masculine, right? How many men today are able to afford that kind of a lifestyle, that kind of responsibility, okay, based on today's economy?
Not many. I mean, dude, I went to the grocery store yesterday, came home, spent $100, and I go, what the hell did I buy? That was $100, right? And so I don't have kids. Can you imagine what the bills are for the families? I mean, it's insane, dude. And so, we've kind of got to a point. I was talking about this with somebody Sunday. We kind of got to a point where something's got to make, we got to break. Something's got to break one way or the other. This doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
It doesn't make sense. And so the other day, I looked at my expenses and I looked at my income, and I just said, if I just clipped along here and like didn't add any things, then I wouldn't feel the pressure to do the more, right?
Right.
But here's the thing, like now we have to unlearn the doing part of you. Which
What's
is
that?
A whole nother.
I
said now you have to unlearn the doing part of you, which is the hard part.
Yes. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Like the two, when I think about me and the healthy masculine, I think about discipline. I think about humility. I think about knowing my limits. I think about, those are really the core. When I think about masculinity, they're discipline and humility and knowing your limits is super important, because what you're just describing right there, the doing part. Okay. When I was younger, I would just keep doing. 7 days a week, I'd be doing something. I couldn't sit still. Too much energy just flowing through the system all the time. Too much life force energy. Thank God, all that. But I didn't know what to do with all that energy. There was no structure for me to repurpose it. I had no real guidance, no real healthy masculine guidance to do that. So what was I doing with it? Going out on weekends and partying till all hours, you know what I mean? Chasing girls, that's the usual basic: get a job, make money, party on the weekends, chase girls, drink a lot with your buddies, go to Mexico to pick up girls and party more. It's the same sort of use of energy, which is very counterproductive, and then eventually leads to what it led me to, which was addiction, because it finally, those substances got a hold of me. But ultimately, when we're working on ourselves, one of the things that starts to show up, or we'll start to understand, is that we have this thing called life force energy in us. And that life force energy over time will like the fire will start to burn down if you don't stoke it. Mm-hmm. This is why people, like, you have men that die in their 50s and 60s, because they just retired from their job. They have no purpose for being here anymore. And within 10 years, they're dead. Okay. And so what does that tell us? It tells us that especially as a man, I'll just speak as a man, I want to feel purposeful. I want to feel as though I'm making a difference in my life and in other people's lives. And if I'm not, then I'm just basically wasting time. And that's a horrible feeling. Like, sometimes I can't even, there was a time where I wouldn't be able to, like, just sit on my balcony and stare out in my beautiful yard and this view of the city, because something in me would be like, isn't there something else we should be doing? Like, just sitting out here staring out at nothing. Like, there's got to be something we could be doing. You know what I mean? And then I find myself just getting up, looking for shit to do. Maybe I'll wash the dishes, maybe I'll watch, 3 episodes of something, maybe I'll go down to my office and start, like, okay, let me geek through, my week for next week. But there wasn't any real intention for what I was doing. I realized that I had this nervous energy that needed to be repurposed, and being able to relax seemed to be an impossibility. So these are the things that I've had to learn over time, is how to take care of myself, how to take a day off without letting the mind pollute that rest day, because my body may be resting, but my mind's consistently like, we should be doing something. Let's go out to lunch. Let's go drink a drive. Let's go, and it's like, come on, I'm just trying to rest. I'm just trying to chill, just chill. Right. And so this is part of the repurposing of the energy. But first of all, understanding that you have it. You have so many things that you're confronting as a human being, because you have your mind, you have your body, you have your higher self. And so those things are constantly pulling at your attention in one way or another. Your higher self speaks to you through your emotions. Your mind speaks to you through sound, through actual vocals. The inner critic, the negative inner critic, so to speak, right? And then there's the body that just communicates through feelings. So the anxiety comes up, and it's like, what do I do with this anxiety? Okay, then we'll breathe through it, or take a cold plunge, or whatever the case may be. But maybe I want to just say, hey, anxiety, I see you're trying to get my attention. What are you trying to get? What part of me is trying to get my attention so that I can give it the attention that it needs and work through whatever I need to work through? There's so many, like, when you start doing the work, at some point in the work comes self-mastery. And self-mastery is taking all the tools that you got from your mentors and your teachers and then applying them to yourself. So this is something that I've like more recently been able to, coach myself. Plus I'm married and, I have my wife, Marcella. And so she's a coach. So, a lot of times we're sitting on the porch, just talking, and things just come up, and then we'll end up like walking through it. I think one of the benefits that you have also is, you have Cassie living with you, right? So you're never quite alone with your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll have someone there that you can potentially bounce those things off of. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to make the decisions and make the choices of how you want to move forward, regardless of what you're facing.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem, what we talk about in our men's group almost weekly, and I see it currently in my clients, is that men, if they're overwhelmed or something's not going right, they're avoiders. We isolate so much. And I'm about to say something that's gripping and kind of shocking, but it's real. I was talking to a client who's dealing with some stuff, trying to get sober, going through a divorce, et cetera, et cetera. And we were coaching and walking, and he literally said, the bridge from here I am today to me killing myself is not that far. Like meaning like I can see how a lot of men who go through divorce want to go there. He's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like it's that far away. And he was like, I know that's crazy for me to say, and I can only speak on this because I've, with clients, I've helped people through this. And it was like, he said it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, like, you're right. Like, it's not really that far away. Like, because that's men, like that is men. If just they self-isolate. I'm the only one going through this problem. I'm the worst person in the entire world. All these things they're saying to him. I mean, like, dude, you got like a lunatic and an inmate, and he's in your head.
Yes. That's exactly what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I listen to that, as I hear that, it's, wow, Austin, like, we're needed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
he dropped on me that he had thought about it before we started working together. He dropped that on me last session. And I was like,
I don't know. I've been through divorce, and you've been through divorce, and and I know that there was a few moments. Of course, I remember where I was at during my divorce,
mm-hmm.
and I was never too far from the idea of like, not being here anymore would be a welcome change of pace here. Mm-hmm. This is too hard. I was dealing with drug addiction and a divorce and the loss of my company all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so broke and no business and separated from my wife and a new baby and a drug addiction.
And I told you this because you were the first guest on the podcast ever, and now we're like 800. And you told the story, and I said, and it's set with me forever, that your daughter single-handedly changed the course of your entire life.
Yes.
And all the people that you've helped.
Yes. The moment she was born, the strength to get the help that I needed and do the work that I needed finally came through. But it's hard to describe an earnest desire, a real, honest, true, earnest desire to change. That was my prayer when she was born. It wasn't, just help me get out of this jackpot. You know what I mean? I promise I'll never do it again kind of a deal. It was, I'm willing to change everything in my life for her. Okay. I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to not be some, casualty story that she shares with her friends when she's in high school. That was my biggest fear. My biggest fear was that her friends would ask her, hey, what does your dad do for a living? She's in high school. She said, my dad passed away from a drug overdose, or my dad's in jail, or my dad, whatever, or my dad's homeless in downtown San Jose. Or maybe she's got to make up a story. Okay. Or maybe she never even talks about me, just talks about her stepdad. You know what I mean? Like I would just run through worst case scenarios in my mind. And I use that as my leverage for like, that ain't gonna happen. That is not going to be my story. And so that there's that willingness and that drive and that desire and that that real, true, earnest desire to change. If you do not have it, if my only reason for change was because of my daughter, I wouldn't have been as successful. She was the catalyst, but about 6 months into my work, I realized, oh, I'm doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like, thank God for her, but I realized I'm not doing anybody a favor by being here just for her. I got to be here for me.
I don't know if I did it for me.
There you go.
I think that I can see that now. I think I need to accept that I did it for me, but I don't think I did in the beginning.
What are you doing it for? Well, maybe you don't want to share that. Okay, maybe I know. Maybe
I don't know who I thought I was supposed to be. You know, who I
remember that version of you.
The people that cared about me, you know. But I don't.
But that's okay too.
Yeah, but I don't know that. I don't know that I've ever processed getting sober. I think I moved on from it because I'm me. But I don't know if I've ever really I know I sure as hell didn't celebrate it and never go like, dude, you did good work. Like, that's crazy, bro. You went from like crazy alcoholic to like nothing. But now I'm like ready to revisit. Like, I'm going to see my dad next week to play some golf, and I'm finally going to ask about like who I was as a kid. Like, I'm super excited about that. Like, I've never broached that subject ever. I don't remember at all. So I'm like super excited that I even want to ask the question. Now, will I ask the question? That's the.
Oh man, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was thinking the same thing about my mom.
Okay.
I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to ask my mom about my childhood. I've never asked my mom about my child ever. I don't even know my childhood. Like, I have glimpses and memories, but I want to hear what she had to say about what it was like to raise me. Maybe it wasn't like, I'm always blamed her for a bunch of shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Maybe I was fucking impossible as a child. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear you were so fucking, were so hyperactive. You couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. You were so loud. You would break everything. Like, I want to hear those things to go, oh, okay.
Yeah. Maybe you're not the warden that I thought you were. Like, look,
right.
I mean, literally, I had a therapist coach tell me, she's like, you were median. She's like, you are like a massively, like, nobody was prepared for you. Like, there's not somebody in the universe that was prepared for you as a kid, right? Like, and so like, okay, cool. Then like, what stories did I create around what I believe happened, opposed to actually getting some data on who I actually was. And so I'm going to record the conversation. When my great grandfather, who had worked for Budweiser for 65 years, they, at the end, when he was getting closer, they recorded conversations about his childhood and growing up. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to record them and then organize them all and then sit with them.
Dude, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. I love the next step on that one.
Well, recording it. Me and Cassie and I were talking last night, and she goes, maybe you should like meditate with him and all this stuff. And I was like, let's go step one where like I actually speak to my father that's not on surface. I was like, let's actually have a conversation where I open up instead of just bullshit about how the weather is and what I'm doing. That's my first step. We'll worry about the other stuff.
We'll get to meditation. Right. Let's just, while you're at it.
Let me be a real person. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, listen, I want to talk to you about my childhood. Can you put on this headset and get in front of this mic real quick? And let's just.
She just meant meditate. She just meant meditate together. But I said, let me actually be real
Right.
with them first before we jump into this
Right.
extracurricular stuff. So, I think that the opportunity is in the data that we don't have, right? The opportunity is in the stories that we've created. The opportunity is in the data boys that we haven't given ourselves.
Amen,
and I think
brother.
that we, business is all over the place. So I had a freak out yesterday where I created all these stories, and I said, you know what? I said, how about you fucking just breathe and let time do its thing? And sure enough, I, freaked out about nothing. Like, it's just like, like nothing at all. And how many times do we do that a day? Right. And I'm obsessed with Kyle Cease right now. I'm like, joined his group and I'm like listening to all his stuff. And he was like, instead of like running from your thing, like you could just say like, hey, I'm happy you're here. He's like, and I'm super stressed. Thank you. Instead of avoiding, right? My favorite thing in the entire world. Like, a fever is here to regulate the body and fix it, yet we want to shove medicine down our throat.
Correct. We don't take the time to heal. We're constantly trying to move up the timeline on everything.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, I'm Omar coaching. Oh my God, how long is this going to take? I'm like, well, it's going to take what it's going to take. There isn't a magic formula for personal development and healing, and the more pressure you put on healing, what you're putting pressure on yet again is the parts of yourself that you've exiled, that you have ostracized, that you have blamed, that you have locked away in a prison cell. There's aspects of yourself that need attention, that need love, that need to be brought into the wholeness of what it is that you are, the shadow. And, that's something that we want to consistently just accelerate. And I get that. Who wants to do shadow work? I've done shadow work, man. It sucks. It is painful. It is arduous. It feels like it's never going to end. Like I'm in the middle of shadow work right now. I'm right in the middle of shadow work right now. And what happens is you elevate in the personal development space is that you get to a point where you think, you really believe like, oh my God, I have healed, man. Like I am on another level, right? Like I am able to do things that I wasn't able to do before. And that's when, at that point, a power greater than you goes, oh, now you're ready.
Yeah, you get knocked in the fucking teeth.
Now you're ready for the real lesson. Okay? Now it's time to do shadow work. Now that you think you're the shit, now that you think you got it all together, now that you think you've done all the work, you've drank 35 ayahuasca ceremonies, and you've done all this psilocybin, and you were like Mr. Master Coach and all that kind of stuff. Now it's time to do some shadow work. And that is, holy cow. Shadow work is just different. It's so challenging and it's so personal that, like where I'm at right now, thank God I do have access to plant medicine because I've been using plant medicine to help me through this period of time. I also have an energy person, a Reiki practitioner that I see at least once a month, especially when I'm about to take off for a retreat, to really balance out all the disbalance or the imbalance that gets created from doing the shadow work. Like things will get recalibrated, reset, my nervous system, reset, my energy levels increased. Then I go back into the battlefield doing more shadow work. And it's like, then I'm all dysregulated. I come back to the my Reiki practitioner. Oof, man, let's just put you back together. Holy cow. All right. And then we'll get you back out there. But it is the next level of the work that people talk about that really humbles you. It really, really humbles you. right? Like just when I think I've got it all together, just when I think I've reached any plateau or platitude or whatever I want to tell myself, man, I am quickly reminded real fast.
Yeah.
Bro, you're
Just
a
happened
channel.
Just happened to me.
You're a channel. You've done enough work to channel energy and to channel God's light. You are not, and that's a whole nother conversation. I am God because you are God and everyone listening is God. But actually in this 3D reality, we are particle, we are part of God. And ultimately, while we are here, we need help. Okay.
Yeah.
We need help from our higher self. We need help from the people around us. We need help in processing and navigating the information that's going to be coming our way. It's a lifelong commitment to the work of learning and growing and expanding. And when you get comfortable with the idea that there's always something new coming along, and you release the dread, then you stop dreading what's coming next, and you're like, oh, okay. Whew, okay, so here we are. Here's the next thing, right? And no matter how intense or how painful or how difficult it is to go through, you always know, okay, this too shall pass. And then once this does, there'll be a celebration period. Because that's the cool part too. And I think that a lot of people don't do that. There's moments in my life where I have championed over things. Like recently I championed over alcohol again, right? So I won that battle. I won it currently. Okay, it could resurface 5 years from now. I don't know, and come bite me in the ass. But at the moment, right, I've won that battle, and I feel it. I feel strong. I feel connected. I feel like, man, I slayed the dragon. Okay, and so in that has been celebrating it, sharing about it. I've been talking to my friends. I'm on this podcast talking about it. I was on another podcast talking about it. So I celebrate this accomplishment by sharing it with others and how beneficial it has been for me. But more than anything, it's just acknowledging that, I gave up something that my physical body refused to let go of for the last 3 years, right? It was a difficult battle, but when it was finally over, and I remember going, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. I remember even saying it. Oh man, I feel so good. I'm ready for the next thing. Well, the next thing came. And I'm right in the middle of it, right? And so maybe we'll have a podcast about that. But for right now, I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the middle of shadow work. So it's ongoing.
So I want to give you two quotes from Kyle Cease. No person outside of me makes me more whole than me.
Correct.
Maybe your false you is ready to surrender into the real you.
Correct.
And what's crazy, and only because you know me from the beginning, I feel like I've probably shed like 45 masks, and I still have like another 45 to go. Like it's just like because I realize something as I read The Body Keeps Score is that the child creates who they need to be to hold the weight of the parents' emotions they can't deal with.
Yes, correct.
And I've done that my entire life with adults. And so all those people that I've met through my childhood and everything is they have put onto me. And so I took a little piece of who they were and became said person. And so really what we're after here is discovering who the hell I am. And I think that we should all be on the same journey.
I was saying that to my wife yesterday. I go, if everyone on the planet tomorrow decided they were going to embrace the spiritual path, because that's basically what we've done. Okay. It doesn't matter what your focus is, whether it's making money, starting a new business, talking about health, wellness, exercise. It doesn't matter what vertical you decide to go through. There comes a certain point where unless you either change up or establish a spiritual practice of some sort, then you're just going to grind for the rest of your life. So just anyone that's listening to this right now, if you want to grind for the rest of your life, if you want to listen to Gary Vee and listen about how it's in the grind, okay, then you can be successful. You can make it happen grinding. Like always just being, that's the word. It feels painful, grinding. I got to grind. Or you can up-level your spiritual game. You can connect with your higher self. You can develop a relationship with God, whatever, the universe, God, Mother Nature, whatever you feel comfortable with connecting that is a power greater than you, that power will guide you. So I don't grind anymore. I used to grind all the time. It was all about the grind and the hustle and the grind and then the hustle and the grind and the hustle. Okay. And and it's funny, I mentioned Gary Vee because it was Gary Vee's book, Crush It, that inspired me to launch my podcast. And actually it was the quote inside the book, which is find something that you're passionate about that you'll do every single day without even thinking about making money on it, and do that. Focus on that. And if you have to make money on the side doing something else, always focus on that. Eventually it will turn into something that will be more in alignment with who you are, what your purpose is. But again, you can there's people today that because of religion do not have a spiritual game, right? And that's so sad that you lump God with religion. God didn't make religion. Man made religion. Okay. Jesus Christ wasn't even Jesus Christ. Okay. He was Jesus of Nazareth. Okay. They named him Jesus Christ. Christ is just Christ consciousness. It's a title. Jesus, the Christ. Okay. They bastardized everything, man. Jesus was like, the kingdom of God is in you. You don't need to go to church. You don't need a preacher. You don't need any of that. The kingdom of God is in you. You can find it within through finding place in solitude, in nature, in silence, and quieting the mind and going within to connect with the God that resides within us. That was the message. So all the spiritual teachers, Muhammad, Gandhi, Buddha, Jesus, all of these mentors, all these messiahs, none of them was starting a religion. Christianity does not belong to Jesus. Jesus was a Jew. You know what I mean? It's been bastardized. Religion is an institution that keeps people apart from God, separate from God. Spirituality helps you develop a relationship with God. So every single day I pray and I meditate to the God of my understanding. And I don't grind anymore, guys. One day somebody's going to go, I remember that podcast that Austin did with that guy named Noah. He was talking about, like grinding and grinding. I was fucking tired of grinding. And I just started praying every day and something changed. Something happened. I can't explain it, but I'm not grinding anymore. And that's what's going to happen. Because once you're in co-creative space with the divine, he's doing all the heavy lifting. He's doing all the heavy lifting, right? And it took me 50 years to get there. My spiritual game is solid, right? But it took many, many years to get here, many years, because I, like many others, prayer, meditation, what a gaffe. Just to avoid the grind, just to avoid the hustle. Spiritual people, like whatever. That was me. Grinding, hustle. Exhausted. That ain't me anymore.
And it takes, I tell people all the time, it's like Indiana Jones in the movie when he's got to walk across the bridge and he can't see it. Like, yeah, and he sprinkles the dust and you could see it. Like that's the personal journey, right? That's the journey to belief, and I think that I think we love to place things in front of ourselves to say that we can't, when I'll go back to my original point that everything you need to feel better is free.
Yes.
So the moment that you just embrace the free that's around you, I say it all the time because he broke both of our brains that time Anthony was on the podcast. And he said that, the problem with good news and gratitude is that it's so abundant that we become numb to it.
How's that again?
So okay, I'll tell you the exact story because I remember like it was yesterday. I've shared it 55 times. So you said that every year, because you coach a ton of Jews, that you have 2 weeks off and you're always stressed out. In the past you were stressed out
Financially
because
during
because
Passover
you don't have the
and during
clients and
Sukkot.
you're like trying to feel it today. You know what? You said today I'm going to I'm gonna go to breakfast with my wife. I'm gonna take the dog on a walk. I'm gonna do all these things, right? You said that. And he goes,
Yep.
I'm so excited that I had that opportunity and that time available to go on the walk with him. And then Anthony leaned back and go, or that time was always there and you didn't take it.
Yes.
And he said the problem is that good news is so available that we choose not to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the truth, right? Because everything wants to sell us like the noise and the loud and the fix and all these things. And so it's just like simplify your life. Like one of the things that's very interesting is like there are definitely drawbacks to living in an RV, but there's also it's pretty easy. Like you don't have that extra stuff. I mean, I was in a men's group and the guy was talking about his AC went out and he had to pay $34,000, and I was like, yeah, among all the other things that you have, so I feel like we're, I grew up in a big house or whatever, but I didn't enjoy it. There's so much upkeep, and I think there's a fundamental shift happening where I don't think people want all those things anymore. And I'd rather travel with my money, and I'd rather, have experiences. And I know it's easy to say, but that's the stuff that matters to me more. And when I was in Colorado 2 weeks ago, I'd hike for 5 hours every morning and explore, and all those things were free. It's natural.
The things that are free, man, you could walk into a apple orchard, pick a couple of apples and feed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that are available to us. You just walk in nature for about an hour and your entire nervous system, your emotional state changes dramatically, completely different. But because human beings in a lot of the concrete jungles do not have access to forest like true forest, park settings, then they just stay in their little concrete apartments and, unbeknownst to them, day in and day out, are not getting the nutrients that they need from the sun, from the trees, from nature, from a conversation with a friend, from listening to birds, just listening to birds. Like there's so many you walking out in nature, the sounds and the smells and what you see are all beautiful. And we deprive ourselves of these things, isolate, avoid. And then what happens? Then all of a sudden I'm depressed. And then I go to the doctor's office and I'm so depressed. Well, does the doctor go, well, tell me a little bit about your exercise routine. Like, what are you doing for exercise and how much time do you spend outdoors? Okay. And do you do like any intentional breathing at all? Like just ever has there, come on, man, like the simplest basic, what time do you wake up in the morning? What time do you go to bed? How much screen time do you have after 6 o'clock? Like those are the questions that need to be answered when somebody comes in and they say, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I need pills. No, you don't. You need to put your fucking phone down and take a walk. Okay, you need to drink some water instead of sitting there all day drinking copious amounts of caffeine or what is that, corn syrup? I don't even know how to pronounce it anymore. Whatever. You want Diet Coke, Coca-Cola, whatever poison you want to put in your body. Okay, what are you doing that shows me that you are actually caring for yourself? Or are you just here? And a doctor, I try not to say that either because it's condescending and rude. But ultimately, it's like, what are you doing to yourself, man? Are you taking any responsibility at all whatsoever for your state, for your emotional state, for this depression, for this anxiety? Are you taking any responsibility? Or are you going to blame it on your job, your wife, your kids, your lifestyle, the alcohol? Like, just blame it on something else and not take any responsibility for it. Because if you're not walking and exercising every day, if you're not drinking X amount of water, if you're not listening to something uplifting like a podcast or an audiobook every single day, then leave. Go do some of that for a while and then come back. Okay. But chances are you're probably not, because you'll probably deal with your depression while you're outside taking a walk, listening to the birds. Right. None of that is being emphasized. Instead, it's just like, oh, yes, classic, low grade depression. Let's try some Lexapro. And if that doesn't work, we can try a little Prozac. Make sure not to go outside and don't be too stimulated by other people. So maybe work from home. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like just become a hermit, and that should, and take these pills, and it should all just kind of magically disappear.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing to people, man?
Exactly what they want us to do.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, anesthetize them. Yes, you're right. Anesthetize them. You're absolutely right. Just put me to sleep, man. Just make it so that I'm just kind of half asleep, half awake when I'm awake, and knock me the fuck out at night, so I do not wake up under any circumstances. Wow. I want to be asleep in the dream. Is that nuts? I want to be asleep in the dream.
It's real. It's real. I mean, 9 times out of 10, when you get a client, they write down all their goals. They're not doing half those things, but they're also chasing things that they don't even really want. So it's like a recalibration, right? I think that we don't spend enough time really. I know we don't spend enough time. We don't spend enough time doing what we actually want to do. We do what we need to do because it's what we've been taught to do, right? But I think we're changing. I feel like we're getting better, and I hope that anything from this podcast hits you when it hits you, and I hope everybody had a ton of takeaways. What's your kind of final message for them, Omar?
I'll tell you this much. What I have noticed tremendously in social media, like what I've been watching in social media lately, like the other day was funny because I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan. So I follow Joe Rogan. I follow Aubrey Marcus. I follow Austin Linney. So I follow these leaders in the personal development industry. And, as I go through my Instagram thread, right, most of the time it's just really good content. There is tremendously good content. Like the other day, Joe Rogan there was a little clip, of him having a conversation sharing about how he quit drinking alcohol recently. Right. And I was like, oh, I'm totally interested in hearing this. Okay. Because I just quit drinking alcohol a couple months ago. And it was basically the same thing coming out of my mouth that was coming out of his. He goes, I spend so much time on my body. Okay. I'm taking supplements and drinking water and hydrating, and I exercise like a savage. I put good nutrient, high nutrient rich food in my body, and I'm drinking alcohol. It doesn't make any sense. As I'm listening to him, I'm like, I can see where it really, like it really pumped me up. Like I was like, that's the same message I have. I'm listening through Joe Rogan. It really kind of inspired me to stay on this path, right? And as much as social media, just like anything else, has its shadow side, the social media and the news all have their shadow side, but they all have the light as well. And there's like incredible content. And anytime I go on Instagram, just because of what I search consistently and post consistently, then I get more and more of that content. So, I mean, I could sit for 5 minutes and get blown away by some, one reel or one quote, right? It's out there now, folks. Like the information is out there if you're looking for. There's enough people talking about healing. There's enough people talking about free resources, like Austin was saying, like everything that's good for you is free, right? And everything that's killing you costs a ridiculous amount of money, right? And when you start to really understand that and put that and really kind of understand what we're up against, We're up against the machine, and the machine wants you to buy, spend, buy, spend. That's what the machine wants, right? So we avoid the machine. Don't avoid the machine. Just curate it. Okay. There is beautiful content. My content, Austin's content, Peter Crone's content, Joe Rogan's content, Aubrey Marcus. Danny Morel. I'll go on and on and on and on and share the ones, Christine Hasser. There's beautiful, powerful podcasts out there and content out there that's rich in spirituality and personal development and growth. That's free. That's free. If you want it, it's there. It's there for you for the taking. That's my final words.
Awesome. Guys, if you got some value from this, send it around to a friend, and we'll see you next time.